Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the GCSAA Podcast, presented in partnership with our friends from Envu. I'm Scott Hollister, the editor-in-chief of GCSAA's Golf Course Management Magazine, and your host for this episode, and I'm glad you're giving us a listen today. With the calendar turning over from one year to the next and the 2024 GCSAA Conference and Trade Show right around the corner, thought this was a good time to take a look back at the year that was in 2023 and a look ahead to 2024. And there isn't a better person to do that with than our guest today, the Chief Executive Officer of GCSAA, Rhett Evans. We talk about highlights from a memorable 2023 with a particular focus on association matters and the business of golf course management. We preview what's to come in 2024, leading off with the conference and trade show in Phoenix. Then sprinkle in a little mountaineering talk at the end that you're not going to want to miss. Always great catching up with Rhett, and I think this is something we'll try to repeat annually going forward. But for now, let's dig into our review of 2023 and our preview of 2024 with GCSAA CEO Rhett Evans on episode 59 of the GCSAA Podcast. Before we do that, though, don't forget you can watch video versions of the podcast on GCSAA's YouTube channel and on GCSAA TV. The traditional audio versions of all our episodes are, of course, available on all the usual podcast services. But if you'd like to look in on my conversation with Rhett, you can do that by checking us out on YouTube or GCSAA TV. And now that we have that out of the way, let's go. This is episode 59 of the GCSAA Podcast, featuring Association CEO Rhett Evans. Well, we have our first three-time guest on the GCSAA Podcast with us today, which I guess makes sense, considering he is the Chief Executive Officer of GCSAA. That's Rhett Evans. Rhett, how are we doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Looking forward to it, Scott. We're going to have some fun today.
We absolutely are. We are going to be at kind of a two-parter here with a break in between. We're going to take a look back at the year that was in 2023 from an association and an industry perspective. A lot of awesome stuff happened in 2023, which was great considering what we were coming off of in the previous 2 years and the pandemic and all that fun stuff. And then in the second half, we'll take a look ahead to 2024, primarily so we can examine the upcoming GCSAA Conference and Trade Show in Phoenix. I will pimp that enough here as we go along with dates and websites and all that stuff. So for those of you listening who haven't made your plans yet to join us in the Valley of the Sun, don't worry. You can still do that. Head over to gcsaaconference.com with all the details, and we'll share more about that as we go forward. So to start, Rhett, again, I want to look back at 2023, and I want to just give you an opportunity to kind of take a big picture view and get kind of your thoughts on the year that was in 2023. If you had to categorize that year in just a few words, kind of how would you do it? What stood out most to you about 2023, the kind of stuff that maybe you're going to remember 5-10 years down the road?
Yeah, first and foremost, where did it go, right? 2023, Absolutely. It was like a blur. And, I'm still getting used to saying 2024. And it's just been fabulous, though, when you look back on it and you see all that's been accomplished and all the events that transpired. It's just been wonderful. Scott, if I think, though, to your question, just in a few words, how would I summarize that? I could probably do it in one word, and it would be a word I use a lot, and that's onward. I really think GCSAA and our membership have continued to move onward. We've looked at what we need to do, and we're doing it, and we're accomplishing some great things. I am a big fan of Jim Collins and his book, Good to Great, where he talks about this flywheel, and it's hard to get going sometimes, and then as soon as you start getting all the hands around it and everybody's kind of spinning this thing in the same direction, it just starts moving. And that's kind of how I feel 2023 was. It's just our members grabbed hold of the wheel, our partners grabbed hold of the wheel, our staff has grabbed hold of the wheel, and this thing is spinning, and we're just coming out the other end with I think so a lot of good base hits that are creating a lot of wins in the industry and really causing the brand to be recognized and seen, and our members hopefully are getting the recognition that they so deserve for all of their hard work. So onward, I guess, is how I'd summarize 2023. And I think you had a second part of that question. When I look back on, what would be my top things that I would remember from the year. Certainly, I do want to forget the 423,000 miles that I've flown. I could do without that. But the events where I actually landed and spent some time at, were tremendous. And I would say that one of those just was recent, and that was the Northern Ohio reaching 100 years, our very first chapter. That's a kind of a special, to be at 100 years and for them to be the first and to be a part of that Centennial Gala was a special event. So I put that up there on my 2023 top three list. The fact that we reached 20,000 members. We haven't been that strong in terms of membership for many years. I mean, you go back to the 90s when golf was booming, and I think we had 22,000, 23,000 members plus, and for us to be at 20,000 members and to see that growth, that was phenomenal in 2023. And then lastly, I'd probably, in fact, I'd put the Women's Leadership Academy,
Sure.
The launch of that in 2023 as a highlight of the year.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that particular event and certain events along the way. It was interesting you mentioned the kind of stringing base hits together in 2023, and that I'm a big Royals fan, and that sent me back to the 2015 season, the World Series season, and one of their mottos was just keep the line moving. Every batter that came to the plate, you didn't have to hit a grand slam every time. You couldn't hit a grand slam every time, but if each batter, if each team member did their part and kept the line moving, that team was going to win, and it ultimately did. And there's a lot of parallels. We didn't get a big trophy at the end of 2023, but as we will discuss as we move through here, there were a lot of wins for the association, for the industry, for the membership, and for golf course superintendents as a whole. So let's take a quick we'll run through some of the highlights kind of chronologically through 2023, and I want to start. We'll kind of come full circle here because I'd like to start with the conference and trade show in Orlando about this time last year, early February. And that really set the tone, I think, for what was to come for the year from the association and its memberships. After a couple of tough years, thanks to the pandemic, we went to a virtual event in 2021, returned in person in 2022 in San Diego. But last year, our attendance rebounded 11,700. We had 6,300 seminar seats sold, which was 70% more than in 2022 and the highest number since 2008. The trade show had 250,000 square feet with 450 exhibitors total. So just some numbers so you don't have to mention all those. But after everything we went through in 2021 and 2022, how gratifying was it for you to see the event come back the way it was, both from an artistic standpoint, from a financial standpoint, and not just from the association's viewpoint, but also from the membership and the attendees and the companies that exhibited there? That had to, I know it made me feel good as a staff member here. I imagine it had the same effect on you.
Oh, absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing all those numbers. Because it really was. It was a terrific show, and really, to your point of, it was, while we've done a lot of base hits, I think that was definitely a triple or a home run to get us going. And COVID, Scott, as we all know, is such an unknown in 2021. Everybody's kind of figuring out what this thing really means, and then it kind of carried into 22, and there was still some apprehension about what is going to happen with, public gatherings, and in particular, large gatherings like ours. We have over 11,000 people for a conference, a trade show, and what's going to become of these events. And, I've been in this business a long time, and I was hopeful that, kind of the human spirit would prevail. And fortunately it did. I think that this need for human interaction and to feel a part of something that's bigger than you, really in many ways is even stronger now post-COVID than it was pre-COVID. We were apart for so long, and we missed certain things that we realized, wow, you know what? We do need to be together. We do need that community. And, I love, the quote by John Morley, our founder, no life is or can be self-existent. We depend upon each other. And I think we saw that in Orlando. We saw the fact that this is needed. And so we're going to see, and fortunately, we're already seeing that transpire in Phoenix. You look at the numbers and where we're at, the tournament. I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute, but it sold out the national championship and the four ball and the classic and the scrambles about there, and seminar seats are up, and people are anxious to learn and be a part of these interactive tours. So to your point and to your question, it is really gratifying to know that, we're a part of that, and that's core to our mission, is to improve communities. And the show is really that opportunity to bring that community together. And so we're excited about it, and certainly grateful that the human spirit prevailed.
We'll touch on this. You're exactly right. It seems like as we head into Phoenix, which, as we mentioned, we will talk about in a little bit, building on the momentum that was created by a great event in Orlando, in a new city, and one that's very familiar to you. And I won't spoil the surprise, but you have a close ties to that part of the world. So the next thing from 2023's perspective that I wanted to touch on, and it's not unique to 2023. We've been doing it for a number of years, and it really started with one of our chapters out there, the Carolinas, is Rounds for Research. That took place in April, launched in 2012. Over the course of the program, since GCSAA has administered it, has raised $2.5 million to support turfgrass research, education, and advocacy. The majority of those funds do go back to the chapter that support the event, to support local projects in their neck of the woods. Last year, we had 1,500 rounds of golf, 43 states, couple international ones in Bermuda and Costa Rica. But I've always viewed Rounds for Research as kind of a great example of a partnership between a strong regional group and the national in GCSA. As I mentioned, the Carolinas chapter began that program. They brought it to GCSA to scale it up on a national level. So obviously a great program. To you, what does the program's continued success say about the association and its members? Is there a message that you hope it sends to the rank and file golfer outside of our industry who bid on these rounds, just to show, hey, this is how much the association and golf course superintendents care about the game and care about moving it forward into the future?
Yeah. So, to take the first part of that question, what does the program's success say about the association and its members? I think that's the simple answer is that they care. That's the bottom line. This program isn't gonna, expedite their career or take them personally to another level. This is the fact that they understand the importance of giving back and contributing to the whole. They know that, if they can be a small part of that by donating a round and getting golfers to bid on that round, and then that money going back to the chapter local level to fund research and other things that make golf better as a whole, that just shows the character and shows really the value of our GCSA members and that they do care. Your second part of that question, about the rank and file golfer and what message does this send to them? Unfortunately, I've been around rank and file golfers a long time, and yes, I'm probably definitely a rank and file golfer if you look at my handicap. But unfortunately, and we see it all the time, right? Every day, there's a golfer out there that you just wish they had a better understanding of what our members go through and all that goes into creating, their great playing surfaces that they take for granted. And while I would hope that, through this program, they get a better understanding of the fact that just doesn't happen magically, that there's a lot of science, there's a lot of hard work and art that goes into creating those playing surfaces, and certainly research and science that the Rounds for Research program helps fund. So hopefully we're starting to connect the dots a little bit there. I still think there's a lot of golfers that are just still looking for that great round of golf, which is fine because that's another benefit of this program. They get to play, some places they typically wouldn't play. So to your point of the numbers, I think it's tremendous, and certainly the credit to the Carolinas for getting this established, and then credit to the team for taking it to another level, and hopefully we're making a difference to some degree, at a local level, and now at a national level with what we've been able to fund.
And we'll be carrying that on again here in 2024, not too very long. It'll be up and coming. So keep for listeners to this podcast, or viewers, if you're watching on the YouTube or GCSA TV, keep an eye open for that. You spoke of the involvement of members and their dedication to the industry, to the game. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about National Golf Day. That took place in early May. It was the first kind of return in person after several years off because of the pandemic. The event did take place virtually in those intervening years, but we're back in DC in early May. It's an event that allows the industry to kind of showcase the economic, charitable, environmental, health benefits of the game of golf to legislators and regulators. GCSA has had a leading role in that, and if you look at the roster of people from the industry taking part, the large percentage of them will be affiliated with GCSA, whether they are staff, working superintendents. Most of them have ties to the golf course management industry. Nice to be back in DC. I was happy to play a part in that event, a small part myself. Why is it such an important event, both for the game and for the association, and just kind of to showcase how much making sure the game is healthy matters to our members and others within the industry?
Yeah, I've been serving for a long time on what was originally the WAG board, and now it's the American Golf Industry Coalition board. And so this is near and dear to my heart, National Golf Day and just our advocacy efforts. And I've said it before, I love and appreciate the quote by Martin Luther King, and I'll paraphrase here, but in essence, he said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter, and golf matters. And you said, and mentioned some of those numbers, but it's a $102 billion industry, over 2 million jobs, including mine and including yours, and folks that work in all aspects of the game, from manufacturers to superintendents. And so it's important. It's important that we get this right. It's important that golf is seen as an industry that does drive economies, and not only drive economies, but provides needed recreation, needed green space, of which we've got 2 million acres of green space in America that our members are maintaining. And the members of Congress need to hear that. They need to know that golf is more than just Tiger Woods and Live Golf and Phil Mickelson. These are men and women that are making ends meet, and that are working in a community that they may be in food and beverage, they may be shagging balls, but they need that job, and people need an outlet, and golf provides that. So that message, a bit of my soapbox, and I'll get off of it, but there were, I think, 250 soapboxes that were put down on National Golf Day, to your point, of congressional meetings, and those 250 meetings are making a difference. And not all the time, do we get what we want, but we've made progress. This year, when we're on Capitol Hill, I think made good inroads on getting hopefully some federal funding for turfgrass research, which is important to sustainability. The whole labor issue with H-2B visas, we're successful in getting a few more of those. Still have a few more base hits to make in that realm. Another big one was the fact that we, after many years of standing on the soapbox, were able to get a bill introduced, bipartisan, a Democrat and a Republican introduced this to modernize the U.S. tax code, which we've been fighting for a long time, where it disparages golf. It put us in a category where we're unable to receive, disaster relief, economic stimulus, and we simply weren't, and still are not, being treated as fairly as other entertainment industries, or the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, and we deserve to be put in those categories. And when disaster strikes and economic stimulus is needed for golf and the facility, we should be able to receive that just like other businesses. So a lot of good things transpire there. And again, I'll encourage our listeners, if they're not participating in National Golf Day, there's still opportunities to do it at your local level. Really, all politics is local. So, showing up at those council meetings, showing up, at the different opportunities when you're member of Congress is at your home state or your home district, do it. We need this voice to be loud for all the reasons I just mentioned.
It's a great event. It's really eye-opening, and I can talk personally from that, having been able. Really my first exposure to that level of advocacy, the times I've been able to go. But a number of superintendents I've talked to who've taken the leap and attended either the national one or even a lot of the state golf days that take place around the country, and just the impact it has. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. So a couple more things I want to touch on with 2023 before we take a quick break. And the first of those builds a little bit off of Rounds for Research. There's a bit of a parallel there, and that's the First Green program. I say there's a parallel because that was another program that began regionally that GCSAA was brought on to kind of help scale up nationally. 2023 was a big year. There were First Green events at the Farmers Insurance Classic, at Torrey Pines, during the U.S. Women's Open, at Pebble Beach. There was an event that you and I both just kind of popped in on just a few weeks back at the new Pinehurst number 10 course, thanks to our friends at the USGA Green section for that. So a lot of great momentum there. The program expanded internationally with partnerships in both the UK with our friends at BIGA and in Australia as well. So a lot of forward momentum to that program. Did you, and I'm assuming I know your answer to this, did you envision this program kind of continuing to grow and the success levels continuing to be achieved when we kind of took this thing national? Was this in your vision for the First Green program?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how you think I would answer this, but I'll go ahead and do it and see if we were on the same wavelength. And the answer is yes. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taken it on. The vision at the time, and it still remains, that I think and we think that this program can have impact on young people in particular, but it can really impact the industry in a positive way. And so if you think about, and in our vision, it really is, if every school district in America had the opportunity to take part in a First Green field trip, just think of what that would do and the impact that would have. Thus far, as we ended 2023, we reached a milestone. Over 11,000 students have participated, which is remarkable, but we want to continue to double that and triple that and continue to grow it with our vision and certainly with our members buying into this and seeing the benefits of it. Not only is it an opportunity for young people, which is first and foremost the goal, to get them outside the four walls of their classroom and to get them in an environment that really is conducive to learning, where they get a touch and feel and be a part of nature and all that golf offers in terms of STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. But what we're finding and really some I think key benefits of this program are the fact that the teachers who may or may not be golfers, and then the parents who in many cases are not golfers, are now, their eyes are wide open and they're going, wow, I had no idea that this golf course really was or is an environmental sanctuary, that it's got things that the superintendents are doing that are important to their community, whether it's retaining retention pond water and filtering runoff from the neighborhoods, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, light bulbs are going off with this group, and this has really become an advocacy, an outreach effort, as well as it has an educational effort with the students. And then to add to that, we're getting media now showing up, local news coverage at these events where they're now buying into and being a part of the event and really expanding that reach and that voice to an audience that needs to hear it, and they need to see what our members do day in and day out. They're highly educated. They're doing things that are tremendous for not only golf, but for the community. And so, yeah, the vision is there, and let's keep it going. Let's keep getting those base hits, and as you said, let's string some things together and keep getting people on home plate.
I assume that you would have said yes as that to
Good.
where this program could go. I felt the same way as someone who's been able to kind of report on and actually kind of participate in a handful of these. You can see from just going to one event the prospects and the potential that the program has. And you made a great point about the parents. That was the first one that I attended was in Maryland. With one of our great members out there, Ryan Kraushofer, who's been a really advocate of this program from the get-go. One of the things that stood out to me were the parents that were along as basically chaperones for the event with these school children, and how impactful the day was to them, in addition to the kids that took part. And boy, I walked away from that first one feeling the same way you did. This, like, the sky's the limit with this program. And I know there's the sky's the limit in 2024 for First Green. There's some exciting things that are additions to the program, some improvements that are going to be made that we'll be announcing very soon here. So a little sneak peek for folks. Keep your eyes and ears peeled, especially if you're going to be in Phoenix for the Conference and Trade Show. Keep your eyes peeled for all that. There's actually a interactive facility tour where we'll be putting on a First Green event. So people who are looking for more information to see how maybe they could do it at their golf course, jump in and take part in that. You'll get to see an actual First Green event in practice on a golf course in the Valley of the Sun. Can't speak highly enough of First Green. Similarly, I can't speak highly enough of the person who oversees First Green for us. That's my fellow staff member, your fellow staff member, Leanne Cooper. You added a little bit to her plate in 2023, for good reason, though, with the creation of a workforce opportunity initiative that GCSAA is behind. Leanne is overseeing that in addition to the First Green. And obviously, labor is a huge challenge for superintendents in all corners of the country. And this is just another example of GCSAA dedicating resources to helping members with that challenge. Why formalize this now in 2023? And what do you see as kind of the end game for these newest efforts of the association?
You said it well. Labor is such a big challenge right now. It remains our number one challenge, when our members fill out their surveys and as we're talking with them, and it's not going away anytime soon. And so, we've been nibbling around the edges and doing a few things and kind of having some of the staff take on this and that. And so, to your point, it was probably overdue in terms of really orchestrating that and getting, as you said, a seasoned veteran in Leanne who had great experience working with the chapters and had great experience, getting the First Green going and some other programs that we think are helpful in the labor arena, such as working with the FFA, et cetera. And so we really just needed to be more focused, and now we are to where it's its own department, and we've got some help. Some help for Leanne. But when you take everything that we kind of have in that space, from First Green to the FFA, and we've got things going on that we've talked about with the Warrior Alliance, dealing with veterans that are coming off of their active tour of duty. We have again, and we'll probably talk about it in a little bit, these the Women's Leadership Academy. We have these initiatives that are all kind of sitting out there, and we need to be more proactive in getting the lines in the water, so to speak, and really fishing where the fish are. And it's not the traditional path anymore. Certainly, folks coming out of 2-year and 4-year degree programs in the university is important, and we need to keep that line in the water. But we've got to be fishing in these other ponds. There's another pond called JAG, which is Jobs for American Graduates. And these are high school students that are looking for a career. And we need to be, at the table, introducing them to opportunities in our space. And so super excited to have Leanne heading that up and really taking it to another level. It needed to happen, and it couldn't have happened at a better time.
Well, you've mentioned the Women's Leadership Academy. That's the last highlight of 2023 that I wanted to touch on, and it was a pretty impactful event. If from both the formal responses we've gotten and then some of the more informal responses of folks that I've chatted with that took part. That was in early November. We announced the program in July. The actual event here at headquarters in Lawrence took place on November 7th through the 9th. For those who don't know, I'll just read very briefly the descriptor that we put out there for the event. The Women's Leadership Academy was designed as an education, mentoring, and networking event that will enable participants to unleash their potential, empower their future, and become inspirational leaders on scales both small and large. That's some pretty good corporate speak there, but it's absolutely the truth if you ask the 40 turf press professionals who took part in the event. What were your hopes for the event heading into it, and how were those met and or exceeded once we were done with a couple of days here in Lawrence?
I love that word impactful, Scott, because I think that's really how I would summarize that. It was impactful on many fronts. Certainly, I think those that attended were impacted in a positive way, based on their remarks and feedback. But it was impactful for our staff as well, and impactful for the industry. I think, this community, the bar was so low, meaning, they've been, or we, GCSAA in particular, in this case, we've been talking a lot about what we needed to do. And I think a lot of organizations do a lot of talk. And finally, when we put this thing into practice and actually, got up there to the plate, in this case, we hit I think a good, I'd call it a triple. I mean, there's still things that we can probably do better, but this thing was just a great up to bat, and we're just getting started. I think that again, the bar was low. That group needed to be heard, and maybe that we finally listened and we finally did something that it just exceeded everyone's expectations. But we're looking forward to really taking this thing to even the next level.
Yeah, continuing in 2024. Obviously, there's been for several years there have been women in turf events at the conference and trade show. That will continue in Phoenix. Nothing but good things going forward. So that's enough time and number. And I did mean to mention, I appreciate you carrying the baseball analogy through the entire conversation. So it's kind of resonating with me. But we're done with 2023 over here. We're going to look this way to 2024. But first, we have to pay some bills. So we will take a break and be right back with more with Rhett Evans. We'll get back to this episode in a minute, but now a word from Envu, a gold-level GCSAA partner committed to working with golf course superintendents to accomplish great things on the course every day. A new year is upon us, which means it's time to start planning for the year to come. And with the portfolio of products from Envu, you can begin the new year the right way. Having strong plant and root health is important because we all want that great turf come spring. That's why Envu is there to help you create a solid foundation for a great 2024. With StressGuard brand fungicides, you'll get a range of solutions for the many challenging situations you find on the course. And by using Resilia Root Health Solution, you can protect your roots from underground threats and maintain strong, healthy greens. The Envu team has all the details on how StressGuard brand fungicides and Resilia Root Health Solutions go beyond disease control to enhance your turf and allow it to reach its full potential. Another great way to start the year right is to begin preparing for leaf spot, which can be prevalent on slow-growing Bermuda grass during the winter. It can be an aggressive disease in warm season turf unless you take the necessary steps to prevent it. By avoiding stressful conditions and starting fungicide applications with products such as Interface StressGuard fungicide or Exteris StressGuard fungicide, you'll be ready come spring. Finally, don't forget that the 2024 GCSAA Conference and Trade Show is right around the corner. You'll want to visit booth 1150 on January 31st and February 1st to explore the entire Envu portfolio, learn about new solutions launching this year, talk to experts about your toughest challenges, and learn how to master the unpredictable on your course. Contact your Envu representative or go to us.envu.com/golf to learn more about agronomic solutions that can help you protect your turf from harmful diseases and keep it healthy when it matters most. Always read and follow label instructions, and remember that not all products are registered in all states. Once again, our thanks to everyone at Envu for their support of the GCSAA podcast. And now, let's get back to this episode. All right, back to this episode with the Chief Executive Officer of GCSAA, Rhett Evans. We just finished kind of a look back at the year that was in 2023. We want to look ahead a little bit, and primarily look ahead to a little event that we're having down in Phoenix, Arizona in a few weeks. That is the annual GCSAA Conference and Trade Show, January 29th through February 1st. I promised earlier that I would put on a sales pitch here. For anyone who's listening who hasn't had a chance to register yet, there is still time. Head on over to GCSAconference.com. All the information about all the events will be there. Information about registering. We have travel and lodging information there. You can also follow GCSAA Conference on X or Twitter, whatever you prefer to call it. And then just search the GCSAA Conference and Trade Show on Facebook to get more information on that. So heading to a familiar spot for you, Rhett. You spent a little bit of old stomping grounds there in the Phoenix area. How long were you there? What did you do in that area when you were living there? And how excited are you to be bringing GCSAA's big event to the desert?
Yeah, I obviously I consider Arizona home. I grew up in Prescott, Arizona, which is about 90 miles north of Phoenix. So I spent a lot of years in Arizona, and Prescott in particular is still the home where my parents live, and I've got 3 sisters that live in Arizona and a brother in Arizona. So it's where pretty much all my family still is. My grandfather had a cattle ranch there in Arizona, so our roots run deep. And Prescott is just I'll put a plug in for Prescott. We're certainly going to be down in Phoenix for the show, as you mentioned, and I'm excited about that. You get to see the desert and all that it has to offer. But there's some great opportunities to get to Sedona and get to Prescott, Flagstaff and kind of northern Arizona. It's out of the desert into the Ponderosa Pines and the granite boulders, and so it's just a really unique place to be. And so maybe after you finish the show and you're looking for something to do, head to Sedona or Prescott, and I can help you out with some good hikes and good things to see. Our claim to fame, Scott, in Prescott is that we have the world's oldest rodeo that started, I think, in 1888, continuous rodeo that is still going on today. It was the original home or a resident was Doc Holliday, and Virgil Earp lived there.
Wow.
So that's a little history, little trivia for you about Prescott, Arizona.
Nice. Well, I imagine there's a lot of attendees, exhibitors, even staff members. I know one of my own staff is going to be spending a few extra days to get some hiking in after we're wrapped up in Phoenix. I imagine he's not going to be alone. First time in a very long time that GCSAA has brought its annual event to Phoenix. So that's created a big level of excitement, not just among attendees and exhibitors, but obviously among staff and as well. And from a staff perspective, I mean, there's been a lot of focus on, building on the successes that we enjoyed in Orlando. So I'll give you a little bit of a chance to kind of brag about the event. How have we gone about, trying to do that? And what do you think is going to make kind of this trip to Phoenix unique for showgoers?
No, I think, Scott, and I will brag on the team because, they don't take anything for granted. And while Orlando, we've talked about it, it was successful, and we felt good about it. When we got back, we started building this show from the ground up. We look at every single event, and even though we've done it over and over again, we don't take it for granted. We want to continually improve and not be satisfied with the status quo. So I think you're going to see that in Phoenix. I think, we learned a lot about the interactive facility tours in Orlando, and I think we've trued those up, and got the right topics out there and the right venues and the right superintendents, to host those. So again, just taking it up a notch. We obviously pride ourselves in the content. I think there's lots of shows out there that are boondoggles, and people just go to go, but this one still has a serious component to it. People are going there to learn. They're going there to take away some things that can help them in their career and their facility. And I think the team's done a great job creating what we're calling solution centers or topics or series, to where literally you can, get some good insight on labor or water or technology and kind of follow this track throughout the show and really get on the other side of the show with some takeaways that I think will be beneficial. So the team's done a great job. I think Phoenix is going to be unique from the standpoint of it's a new look and feel, and I think people enjoy that. If my math is right, it was 1987 when we were there. So what is that, 30 plus year, well, almost 37 years. That's a long time. And so it's changed a lot. I think people will be excited about the downtown and the venue. So I just can't say enough about Phoenix. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's been great. And as you mentioned, the momentum seemingly has carried over somewhat from Orlando. I know we're not going to count our eggs before they hatch, but the metrics that the association tracks in terms of attendance, in terms of trade show space, hotel nights, seminar seats, all trending exactly in a really positive direction for a great event. And a few specific things that I want to touch on that from Phoenix, and one of those I'll start with is the GCSA Golf Championships. Numbers there very, very positive. The event is almost sold out. If you're really itching to swing the clubs down there and you haven't done so already, you're going to want to do it the minute you hear my voice tell you to do it. But get over there to GCSAconference.com, look for the tournament link, and you'll get all the information you need. A lot of good stuff going on there. Talking Stick Resort is going to be the host hotel for that event. One thing in particular that I wanted to mention was our corporate partner in that event. That's the Toro Company. This is the 30th consecutive year that Toro has played a role in supporting this event. As far as I know, the longest running corporate partnership maybe that we have as an association. What has that partnership allowed the association to do in terms of this event, the quality of the event, and making it such a must attend event for so many of our members?
I love what you said there at the end, Scott, a must attend event. I think a lot of people see the golf as, well, do I really need to do that? And, those that have participated in this, and in the case of Toro, they participated for 30 years. They think it's that important, to bring people together in a setting where you get to do some networking, you get to meet people that you wouldn't otherwise get to know. And it's just it's a conduit for creating those relationships that in many cases have been lifelong for some folks. So, I think we've got some great venues in Talking Stick and Whirlwind and Camelback. And so 5 great golf courses, 5 great, superintendents that are hosting that. And as you said, I think we've got, 5 or maybe it's 7 slots left for the scramble. And then this thing is done. It's completely sold out. So it's going to be excellent. And to have Toro and all of our sponsors for this show, it's just so vital. Our member dues is really only 26% of our overall budget. And so for us to produce the programs and services that support our members, we need partners like Toro. They are significant to the success of our business. So I too want to add my appreciation to Toro and all of our sponsors for helping us get this event off the ground.
at the risk of forgetting someone, I'd love to mention all of the corporate sponsors that we have for this event, and that support everything we do. As the editor of the magazine, which, as most readers will know, has advertising, I'm super grateful for the support that we get. But a lot of those same partners support the show, support education, support various events through the years. You'll be able to recognize a lot of those if you're there on site through a lot of the reporting and coverage that we will do through GCM and its digital properties. You'll get a sense of the people that are supporting the people that support us, and we're super grateful for that. So I wanted to kind of amplify that a little bit. I want to transition a little bit to the education. Always been a key component of what we do at Conference and Trade Show. There are going to be 70 different opportunities for attendees to learn both in the classroom and in the field. We've got a host of interactive facility tours that we've referenced a few times that cover topics from tournament prep to equipment management, water, agronomy, the First Green program, course renovation, and new technology. And those are going to be at all, as I hit my microphone there, hope that everyone can enjoy that. At courses all over the valley we'll be at. Last year was kind of the first time we had this enhanced program of facility tours. Wasn't the first time we had done field trips. That had been a part of previous shows as well, but really stepped up our efforts in that area. What do you hear from members as it comes to the increased number of interactive and hands-on opportunities that we're presenting to them when they do come to the conference and trade show?
I think, Scott, it goes back to where we first started this conversation, right? As human beings, we want to be interactive. We want to be a part of something. We want to touch and feel things. And so I think we, have now figured out that, kind of going back and taking a page out of an earlier book and getting folks out on the golf course, getting them into a shop, getting them, in an interactive setting where they can see the effects of that equipment. They can see and talk with the superintendent firsthand that is employing certain techniques or doing certain things, as you mentioned, whether it's tournament prep, et cetera. And so I think we've got some great venues in Phoenix for that, that literally are going under a renovation over there at the Biltmore, and literally the Phoenix Waste Management Open, a pretty big tournament, is going to be being played the fall week. And so you're going to get to see that set up and be a part of that. So it's exactly that. They're interactive, they're hands-on. That's what's exciting about them. And I think there's a few of them that are already sold out. So the listeners probably got to jump on those. Those are on the website, and I'd get signed up as soon as possible and don't miss out.
Yeah, they'll be great events. As you mentioned, TPC Scottsdale, which the week prior to our visit to Phoenix will make room for the PGA Tour. Let them come into town and steal some of the golf spotlight. It's the Waste Management's the week after us. That's the tournament prep one. Phoenix Country Club hosts equipment management. Paradise Valley Country Club will host the water interactive facility tour. Desert Highlands has agronomy and turf management. Cottonwood Country Club at Sun Lakes will do First Green, and then, as you mentioned, Biltmore with renovation, and then Camelback with technology. I wanted to give a shout out to those courses and superintendents who are working with us to bring those facility tours. One thing that all attendees and exhibitors are going to notice right away is the unique outdoor space that the Phoenix Convention Center offers us in what they call the Canyon on Third. And we are not going to be shy about using the Canyon on Third for the entire week of show for various events. The welcome reception is going to be there on Monday evening. There will be a trade show grand opening event that will start in that space and then feed into the convention center and the exhibit space. That'll be Wednesday, the 31st of January. And then obviously we can talk a little bit more about Golf Sustainability Showcase, which will be in that space. But how unique is it that, I mean, we've not always had at our disposal the ability to do an outdoor event, and we are taking full advantage of that. What opportunities has that presented, and how excited are you to be able to kind of take some of what we do out of the convention center and into the great outdoors?
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure, like our superintendents do regarding the weather, right? I've said we're going to have great weather down there, and we are. It's going to be terrific, and we're going to take advantage of that, Scott, to your point. So what we've done, if you're unfamiliar with Arizona and the convention center, it's literally on both sides of the street, and the street runs right through the middle of the convention center, and underneath the road is the exhibit space. And so we just said, you know what, let's just rent the whole street out and close it down for the week. And so we've done that. And so now from end to end, literally the campus becomes ours, and we can throw some giant street parties. We're going to have product placements. We're going to have, as you mentioned, other opportunities, the Golf Sustainability Showcase. Our great partners, the builders, the architects, the USGA and GCSAA have come together, and I think are created, a tremendous talking point and education opportunity for our members to see, a tee box with hydroponic irrigation and drip irrigation and green complexes that, just have new technologies and in moisture reading and all kinds of cool stuff that's going to go on there. So it's going to be, to your point, just active the entire week. The trade show grand opening is going to take place out there, and I'll tease it a little bit too, because you mentioned it on the first green. You won't want to miss that Wednesday morning when we kick off the trade show. That's where that announcement will be made out there on the street on Canyon on 3rd. So a lot of big things and cool things are gonna be happening out on Canyon on 3rd.
Speaking to the Golf Sustainability Showcase, and I was going to bring this up, and I'm glad you mentioned that our the partners that we have in putting on this show, the Golf Course Builders Association, the American Society of Golf Course Architects, the USGA Green Section, great partners. They're working with us on that space. And so it'll be a great demonstration space. We're hoping to have a lot of media there to kind of get an inside look at what the game of golf is doing to be good stewards of the land that they compete on. There'll be a lot of neat demonstrations. There'll be a lot of neat exhibits. There's kind of a sneak peek of it last year. If you were in Orlando and you saw the interactive grass stage inside the Orange County Convention Center, this will be a kind of a ramped up version of that, but it'll actually be outside. And I know there's a lot of excitement, but I just maybe a quick opportunity for you to talk about the partners who kind of unified. These groups have all come together, unified around this effort. Know it's in our collective best interest to put on a great show, and everyone's really kind of paddling in the same direction when it comes to the event.
No, it's tremendous, and we're so, again, just honored to be able to have the partners that we do. They take this seriously, as you've mentioned, the builders, architects, and USGA and our team, and they're working together. That they know that this is how it is out there in the field. Whether you're doing a renovation or you're doing a new build, working with the USGA and their agronomists, et cetera. This really showcases those partnerships, and we look forward to using this Golf Sustainability Showcase to do just that.
Well, it's going to be a great event. Again, another shameless plug, GCSAconference.com. When this podcast goes live, you'll still have a few weeks to get yourself registered and get yourself to Phoenix for the event. So don't hesitate to go there for all the information on the schedule, the education, the exhibits that will be taking place on the trade show floor. You can get travel information there as well. Again, it's GCSAconference.com. Rhett, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. We're all busy, especially coming off of the holidays. And as we record this, we're just into the new year, January 4th. And so things are really ramping up as we get ready to head to Phoenix. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't ask you about a kind of a personal milestone that you're hoping to achieve here in 2024. I was fortunate enough to go to the Green Start Academy this year, where you gave an awesome presentation, and I've seen versions of your presentations before where you've kind of built on your love of mountaineering and mountain climbing to make broader points. That one referred to your attempts to summit Denali in Alaska, but you've got a kind of a bigger fish to fry, a literal bigger fish to fry coming up this year as you try to climb Everest. So just kind of give us the lowdown. What is it about mountain climbing that you so enjoy? Enjoy might be too strong of a word, considering what you go through. But and when are you attempting Everest? How's it all going to play out?
I think we got to change the analogy, not from baseball to mountaineering now. And
that's right. Yeah.
We'll start talking more my language, because it really is. It's near and dear to my heart, and finally got Denali knocked down. And so, I've been, as I mentioned, growing up in Prescott, I've been climbing forever, and this has been a lifelong a dream of mine. It's not something that I just woke up one day and said, I want to climb Mount Everest. I've been working on this for, it's a lifelong project really, and finally come to fruition. And so in April and May, we'll be taking our team up and climbing on the Nepal side, which is the kind of the southeast ridge line of Everest. It's the one that Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, made known in the 1950s. So it's kind of the key route, and we'll be taking that line hopefully up the mountain. And to your other point, no, it's not a lot of fun, to be quite honest. It's a lot of work. It's cold, and a lot of cold nights, but I really am. And you go back to that, the green start and just what, again, our members go through. A lot of them are pushing out of their comfort zone. They're trying to go after a new job, and they're going from an assistant to a superintendent. And I'm a firm believer that there's really no growth in a comfort zone, and that there's no comfort in a growth zone. And we've got to find those things in our lives that push us, that push our limits. And climbing big mountains does that for me. Sometimes beyond what I think my limits are, and I realize I'm capable of more. And so I think that's important in life for all of our members and everybody to do, so that we can continue to grow. That's really when the magic happens, where growth comes from, is getting out of that comfort zone. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping I come back with all my fingers and toes, but we're preparing, and all systems are a go.
Well, that's super exciting. As someone who likes to live vicariously through you on those, and who's read all the Krakauer books and on it, I have a fascination with Everest that does not include me actually climbing there. So I'll have to live vicariously through you. And for listeners, we'll figure out some way to kind of keep tabs on, from an association standpoint, either that's in our e-communications or GCM online, a way to kind of just so people can kind of keep tabs on your progress, because it is a process. It's not something you pop on the mountain and climb right up. You've got your acclimation days and different base camps that you'll move through to reach the summit. So best of luck on that. It's a heck of a goal. And thank you again for taking the time. We need to do this annually. I don't know. I say it was your third time. It probably should do it at the start of every year. Just kind of we'll take a look back and look ahead to the year to come, and kind of nice point here, just as we've gotten into the new year. So thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. And we'll see. I know I'll see you, and hopefully we'll see many of our members down in Phoenix for the conference and show.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott. And as always, to our great GCSA members and listeners, thanks for being a part of the team, and look forward to serving you and hopefully seeing many of you in Phoenix.
It's Rhett Evans, the Chief Executive Officer, GCSAA. Thanks, Rhett. Well, that's a wrap on episode 59 of the GCSAA podcast. Big thanks, as always, to Rhett Evans, the CEO of GCSAA, for joining us to look back on 2023 and look ahead at what's to come in 2024. And as I might have mentioned a few times during our conversation, if you're not already planning on being in Phoenix for the GCSAA Conference and Trade Show, there is still time. Head on over to GCSAconference.com for all the details about everything taking place in the Valley of the Sun. You can register to attend there, take care of all your travel and lodging needs, and just get a general 360-degree look at everything taking place in Phoenix. Again, the dates for the Golf Championship are January 27th through the 29th. The Conference and Trade Show runs January 29th through February 1st, and you can find out much more by visiting GCSAconference.com. Remember that we will be recording a series of live podcasts from Phoenix, as well as welcoming several other superintendent-hosted podcasts to the GCSA podcast stage. Check your podcast feed for those episodes during the week of the event. And if you'll be joining us in Phoenix, you can stop by booth 19, which is located in the lobby of the main exhibit hall, to be a part of the studio audience for some of these live recordings. We'd love to see you there. Until then, though, we'll sign off with a thank you to our podcast editor, Evan Shapiro, to everyone at Envu for their ongoing sponsorship of the podcast, to the GCSAA Board of Directors and all my coworkers at Association Headquarters in lovely Lawrence, Kansas. And of course, my thanks to each of you for subscribing, downloading, and listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch up again soon on the next episode of the GCSAA Podcast.